Hey there and welcome back to the Full Later Life. My name is Martin and I want to encourage us all to live a full and active later life. Now you may remember a few weeks ago I posted a video about how I manage my one bag travel setup and how I use packing cubes and my Peak Design backpack to take everything that I need for a trip, but also what I need to continue to go for runs on those trips as well. And you know what, after I posted that video, it got a lot of attention, but not in the kind I expected. What happened was on my social media feed, I found ads and promos popping up for these vacuum seal compression bags. And for some reason, the algorithm just thought I was the perfect customer for these kind of products, or maybe the perfect mark for the con. I don't know.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Anyway, these kept popping up, and so I thought, well, maybe I should take a look into see what this is all about. Now, I'm not new to vacuum seal compression bags. A few years ago, I did actually try them out, but to be honest, I really was not that impressed with them. I mean, they just seemed like oversized Ziploc bags, and the seals just tended to leak and they weren't very good. And not only that, you needed a vacuum cleaner to actually seal them up, which is fine when you're heading out on your trip from home, but what do you do when you get to your destination and want to come back home? I mean, you know, it's not like your hotel room has a vacuum cleaner sitting around, and it seemed a little bit weird to go to the housekeeping closet and say to the cleaners there, can I just borrow your vacuum cleaner? I need to pack my luggage to go home. That just seemed a bit weird to me, and so in the end I kind of tried these vacuum bags out, but I gave up with them after a couple of trips. They just seemed more trouble than they were worth. But as I noticed on the social media, all of the ads, they had these new bags and they just looked a lot differently designed to the ones I tried before. They had these giant thick zippers on them that looked like they might create a good seal. I don't know, I've not tried them yet, but they just looked a bit better. And not only that, they came with these tiny palm-sized pumps that you could just travel with you and suck the air out of them, and that would solve the whole in the hotel looking for a vacuum cleaner problem. So they would work on the way out and the way back. And so I thought, well, maybe I should give these things another look. Now, if you've watched my previous video about packing, you will know that I've got my system pretty much dialed in with my packing cubes, my backpack. Everything has its place and everything fits in just perfectly. And I can take everything I need for a trip and my running stuff, and it's perfectly fine. And so the reason why I'm looking into these vacuum packs now is not really because I want to bring any extra things. I mean, honestly, let's be fair, you know, if you compress the size of your clothing and everything, it's still going to weigh exactly the same. It's not like we suck the air out, it weighs anything less. In fact, you might be more tempted to put more things in. I really don't want to do that. I don't want to take any excess weight. But let's be honest, when you're doing one bag travel, space is a premium, and any extra space, well, that could be very useful. And you know, I've made this one bag travel thing work pretty well for pretty much all the trips I do, and it works very well. I'm not taking any extra stuff, but sometimes trips can be a little different. You know, recently I've become a content creator and making videos for you guys. Man, I really hope you like this content I'm creating, and if so, then please hit that like and subscribe button. But you know what? That means I have to carry cameras and a few like extra equipment with me, you know, a little tripod maybe, some mounts, maybe a light or something, you know, and I'm wondering, if I use these compression vacuum bags, maybe that could help me bring my content creator kit and still keep the one bag travel going. Or maybe I want to race that, I want to take an extra pair of race shoes. Maybe I want to take my everyday runner and my race shoe. And of course, when I've got a race, I may have hydration or nutrition or hydration belts to bring. You know, a few extra things that are race specific. Or maybe there's trails nearby and I want to do a trail run and a road run because there's both options near where I'm staying. And not only that, sometimes it would be just great to be able to just think, hey, I saw this thing in this store, it would make a great gift for my neighbor or my friend or something like that, and I'd love to bring it back, but now I've got space to just pop it in my backpack without even thinking about it. And so maybe that would be a good reason to keep my one bag travel system that I have already, but use the vacuum compression pack to create a little extra space. And so I'm wondering if that is really going to be a good option for future travels. And of course, you may also remember that I did say that on some trips I do pack a fold-up duffel bag if I think I'm definitely buying gifts and souvenirs. But sometimes it's a kind of trip where I really like to buy one or two things. So on those trips, would I even need to bring a duffel bag? You know, it's just like one less thing to worry about if I had the space to put something in that I would normally put in that duffel bag. Of course, if I'm going to buy a bottle of wine or olive oil or something that's liquid, then I'm still going to take a duffel bag anyway, because even though I compress everything and create the space, you can't check on a backpack that has liquid in it on a plane. So I will need to take a duffel bag sometime, but even so, there's still going to be that little extra space in the backpack maybe. So that could be a good thing. Now, we all know what happens when the algorithm suddenly decides that you might be interested in a particular kind of product. Your social media gets filled not just with one company, but hundreds of companies all selling similar products. And so it became a bit of a confusing world to get into. What should I get? In the end, I decided I went with a compression bag from a company called Ekster, and they came up with a really nice looking bag. It looked kind of very well made, and it came with a pump that just fits nicely in the palm of my hand. Now, I must say right here that Ekster is not paying me for this video. They haven't even approached me to make a video for them. I've just decided that it might be something that might be interesting for me to try out, and so I spent my own money on it, and I ended up buying a 4-pack because it was on a holiday sale. Now, I don't see myself ever using 4 of these Ekster bags. They're pretty big already. Most likely I'll use just one. But the good thing is my wife could use the other ones when she travels, and she tends to take a few more things than I do, and so it might help her out, and also maybe occasionally I might need an extra one, who knows. But anyway, I bought the 4-pack just for that reason, because it was on sale and it was good value. And so without further ado, let's find out how it works and whether it would be useful for my one-bag travel. So everything on the table here in front of me is what I would take on a normal trip. Well, if it's going somewhere a bit more colder, I wouldn't always necessarily take this body warmer. And actually, to be honest, the body warmer, hoodie, and the rain jacket, I wouldn't normally put inside the main backpack. I do put it on the outside pocket so I can grab it when I get out of the airport. So let me put these aside for now, because these would not normally go into the main compartment. So I'm going to put all the packing cubes that you saw in my previous video. I'll explain what they are each one. So this would be my socks and underwear, my merino wool t-shirts, pants, that'd be long pants and shorts, my sports kit, and then of course I'll have my wash kit, my running shoes right here that I've packed up inside this to keep the pack dry, and then I'll have a small washing line, my bone conducting headphones that I use when I'm running, and also a set of noise cancelling earbuds that I use on the airplane, and my iPad that also slots inside there, which I use instead of a laptop to keep everything small. Okay, so without further ado, let me just pack up the backpack, and you can see exactly how full this would actually be without a vacuum pack. Alright then, so I've now taken everything back out the backpack and just let it out there, and I've now got the Ekster vacuum seal bag. And we're going to just put this in and see if we can make all this stuff take up a lot less space. As you can see, this is a pretty sturdy looking bag. It's got a pretty sturdy zip and a good seal on it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open this up, and it's pretty stiff, which makes you feel good. I'm going to lay it in the bag. I'll put that down there for now. And then what we'll do is we're going to put inside all the soft packing cubes that I'll normally take for my clothing, and we'll see how that works for our one bag travel. So let's start off with the biggest one, the pants one, and we're just going to just slide that into the pack just like this, and we just slide it down there and just squeeze it in there, and then we'll put in the next of the packing cubes. There's a space there for socks and underwear. One will fit just there, just perfectly nicely onto the top there like this. Then of course I've got my sports cube, which has all my running stuff in it, including in here stuff for winter runs with long sleeves. I've made sure it is actually at my maximum run here, and then my merino wool t-shirts. And that's pretty much all the soft things that I would need to put into my backpack. And then what we do now is you take this zipper and we pull it, and it is a pretty stiff zip. Now, one thing we've got to make sure is that this zipper is all the way sealed to the very end, otherwise it will leak. So it's got like a pull tab here, and you're going to yank it until it clicks into place, and that will be, now it is completely sealed. And so when I start sucking the air out with this thing, it should, in theory, shrink down and it shouldn't leak. That's what you do, is you open a little notch here. So now I'm going to take the little Ekster pump, and I'm going to put it onto the thing and just suck all the air out, and we're going to let it go. Now what I might do is I might give it a little push here and there to squeeze it into place, squeeze it around a little bit, and give it a good 20 to 30 seconds to suck all the air out of this case, out of this here. Now, as you can see already, this is actually taking up a way less space in the backpack. It's actually pretty incredible how much air is inside all of your packing cubes. And I love the fact I can still use my packing cubes to keep things organized. When I get to my hotel room, I can just unseal this and let it all out. Okay, great. So I think we've got the point now where there's not much more air we can suck out of here. So I'm going to turn this thing off, and it's not even leaking. I'm going to close this still. And what you can see, that has now been reduced to a pretty flat pack like this, and that will just sit in my backpack like this. And now everything else that I need to bring, I can now perfectly fit in there. My wash kit can go in here like so. I have my running shoes. Now I think instead of putting them back to back, I'll put them flat, and I could just lay them down instead of back to back. And I think that helps them take up a bit less space here. There you go, it just sits on there. I've got a big space right here I could put something else in. You know, maybe I could put in my running headphones. I also have my little washing line that I find very useful for rinsing out sportswear that can fit in there. And I've still got a pretty huge space right here. You know, my hydration belt that could just fit in there. And actually, if I look at the space here right now, I've actually got more space to lay more stuff on top, and I've got a giant big gap right there. Maybe I'm on maybe I'm going to buy some olive oil or something, so I've got my duffel bag because I know I'm going to have to check something in. Well, that fits in there quite nicely. That'll even just lay on there quite nicely. Yeah, that lay on top there like that. And I've still got more space. Maybe I'm on a work trip and I need to put my lithium batteries in there. Well, now I don't have to sit there and squeeze them in. They just fit in there very nicely indeed. And it's just absolutely perfect. You know, I've got so many options now to how I can pack this bag and still have space. And actually right now, as you can see, it's actually gonna zip up much easier because even though I've got more stuff in it, it's still taking up way less space than before. I'm not fighting the zippers so much anymore, and it's just seals up very nicely, and there we go. So I do think that the vacuum pack can be useful for certain types of one bag travel, provided of course you're disciplined, and if you don't overpack your clothing, you've certainly got space for the extra items that may come with unique trips. So as you can see, that's how it all works, and it does seem to create quite a bit of extra space, especially with the way I use my packing cubes as well. But in the end, is it the kind of thing that I would find particularly useful, or is this going to end up on the back of the shelf with a bunch of other gadgets that I bought over the time? Well, honestly, I think I will be using this a lot more because it does create space that is very useful. For example, I could actually bring an extra pair of running shoes if I had a race day and wanted to bring my nutrition and hydration belts and any extra things that the race might demand. I could even bring a pair of trail shoes if I wanted to, if I wanted to do road running and trail running, and that would fit in there quite easily. And as a content creator, yes, all my entire compact creator kit would fit inside that backpack now without too much of a squish or trouble. And one of the great advantages also is that I wouldn't have to worry too much if I wanted to buy something to bring home. I mean, there was just one time I went to Utah and I went to this really awesome coffee shop, and the coffee was awesome, guys, really good. And so I ended up buying a £2 bag of beans, but then that meant I had to fit it into my backpack, and I was doing the one bag travel thing. And so it was a bit of a squish to try and squeeze that thing into my backpack. It was like playing Tetris on a difficult level. And you know what, and when I put it in there, squished it in, the zippers were all like bursting at the seams. I made it work, but it wasn't pretty. So with one of these vacuum packs, it would be very easy just to bring a bag of that coffee home. So yeah, there's a lot of advantages to these vacuum packs that I would use, and I'm pretty sure I could find a lot of use for it on a lot of trips that I do. Now, of course, there will be a couple of downsides when you use one of these things. You know, nothing's perfect after all. And one thing I noticed was that when you suck the air out of the vacuum pack, what happens is it becomes this big solid block of stuff that you can't really squeeze it around things in your backpack, so you have to put that in there and put everything else around it. It's just not flexible, so the space that it creates is the space that it is, and that's what you're gonna have to deal with. Also, if you're on a long, say, international trip with multiple layovers and you want to grab a change of socks or underwear or a clean shirt or something, well, if everything's inside a vacuum pack, you're going to have to unpack that whole thing just to get to a change of clothing or something that you might want to use for the part of the trip. So I would recommend, if you did that and you knew that was going to happen, maybe put a pair of socks or a shirt on the outside that you can just quickly change into without unpacking everything. And there's also, of course, the temptation to just think, well, you know what, I could pack an extra pair of trousers or an extra shirt. You know, I mean, you really do have to be disciplined to not add that extra things just because you want to deal with a what if situation that's never likely to happen, or you want to just bring a few extra things just because you can. I think it's really important that you do stay disciplined and you bring what you need in your old system, you know, not using it to just as an excuse to pack a lot of extra stuff. But apart from that, so long as you take those limitations into account, these things are going to be absolutely phenomenal for your one bag travel. Well, overall, I do think that these vacuum compression bags from Ekster are going to be a very useful addition to my one bag travel setup. It certainly makes travel way more flexible. Would I use it for every single trip? Maybe not. I mean, if I'm going on a work trip for a couple of days and I know that I don't need anything beyond what I normally bring, then I probably wouldn't bother, because why complicate something that already works for me? But for most trips where I don't know what's going to happen, or I have other plans that are going to happen, then absolutely it's going to make my travel plans so much more easier with the space that it creates. But I wonder what you guys think. Have you ever tried to use any of these vacuum travel packs yourself, and have you found them useful, or have they been more of a hindrance to you? Let us know in the comments below, because that would be a great thing for us all to learn from one another, and also share any other travel hacks that you might have too, because none of us know everything, and it'd be certainly great just to learn from one another. Anyway, if you like this content, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you again in the next video.